everybody, and welcome to our conversation with Diana. Diana, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, likewise here.
Mhm.
I will tell you a little bit about Diana. I just wanted to. This is kind of like update you. This is a program we're trying to do here with the leaders of today and tomorrow. Diana, I know her personally. She's the real badass. She's like probably the strongest female I know. She's the owner of Alpha Krav Maga, which we love you to hear a little bit more here
Okay.
from Chicago. And you know what, Diana, I would love you to kind of like introduce yourself and tell us about
Absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely. So I grew up on the north side of Chicago, and I've been vegan for 10 years. I love animals. I love children. I actually went to school at Columbia College of Chicago for fashion designing. And what I did during the time is I went into makeup as well. And then I went into acting, and I graduated. I started going and doing a lot of fashion shows. So a lot of these fashion shows, they called for early time on set, right? So I'm working downtown Chicago. It's 4 in the morning, and I'm walking down the street by myself, and I'm being followed, right? So it's not a good feeling
Right.
to feel like scared, like worried. Dear God, what if something happens to me? What if I get attacked? So my sister says to me one day, she says, we should try this Krav Maga. We should try this Krav Maga.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
said, okay. I said, awesome, let's do it. So my first time on the mat, I said, dear God, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And that was in 2006. And here I am today with my own school.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing story.
Yeah.
So, you just started to mention it. Obviously, the topic is going to be a little bit about your take on self-defense in general to you know all the people, all the gender, all belief. But can you tell me, as a woman, how learning self-defense has
Yeah.
shaped your who you are today?
Yeah. I'm gonna be very honest with you. It's made me more patient with people. It's made me more understanding of people, and I feel at peace. Like I feel I have peace now, because the truth of the matter is, when you think of Krav Maga, you think of, it's intense, right? It's
Very
aggressive,
interesting.
right? Because
Yes.
it's all reality based. It's all what happens out in the real world, right? And how do you say you're at peace when you do something so aggressive? And I always say, because now I know what I'm capable of. Now I know I could walk down that street, and if God forbid 1,000 times I am attacked, I know I could defend myself, right?
Right.
So it's all round. It just made me a very peaceful and relaxed person.
I understand.
Yeah.
Do you think this is something every every individual, mainly women, should have this confidence right there when you had this, when you've been followed, or if you were rolling some scenario in your head?
Do I think it's for everyone? Is that where you're?
No, I think it's like, so you're talking about the
Yeah.
self-confidence,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Mainly,
absolutely.
besides the actually ability,
Absolutely.
physical
Yes.
ability to protect yourself.
Yes.
So how highly you recommend, this, from based from your experience?
It's. I always give this example. I always recommend it to women, right? But I always give this example of, okay, you insure your car, you insure your house. Why not insure your life?
I agree.
Okay. And if you think about it, your car and your house is replaceable. Your life isn't.
True.
Okay. And you, it's more than just physical. It really is.
I agree with you one
It's
million
it's your
percent.
mind. It's your mind. you're the only person that stops you. You're the only one that comes up with excuses. And believe me, when I was training, when I was a student, well, I'm still a student. I'm forever learning. I'm always going to be a student. But I remember that intimidation. I don't want to ask a silly question. I don't want to look silly doing something, So you come up with excuses, and there's something in your mind like, no, no, no. You invested all this time. You're going to go. You're not going to give up.
I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit about the gym that you and Master George running. I would like
Yeah.
to hear years and how you
Yeah.
came up with it, your kind of like approach and everything.
Yes.
Alpha Krav Maga compound in Northbrook, right?
Yes. Yes, sir. So I've been very fortunate. You've trained in a lot of gyms. You've been
Right.
everywhere. I've been everywhere. And it could be intimidating for a woman. It really, really can. Like I just went over that. And I felt sometimes walking into a school, a gym, there wasn't that much warmth. So I said to my husband, I said, when we have our own school, I'm gonna make sure that everyone feels like not they're walking into a school, but they're walking into our house. And it's just that. It's family oriented. It's a very loving environment. And yes, we have the best of the best instructors. We really do. But in all honesty, who makes it great? It's the students. You see them wanting to help one another. You see them, they come early. They come early. They discuss and train in the back. They talk on the mat. They take the hour class. After class, they stay, they hang out, they laugh. That's a community, right?
Right.
We want a family strong bond community.
So for how long are you with George? Do you want to tell him a little bit about, Eves? Because he's, guys, legitimately, George is the real deal. Honestly, I've been, I'm from Israel. Krav Maga was, I don't know if my first discipline, but my main discipline when I entered to the martial art world. And it's very, in my opinion, I'm sure you will agree, it's very hard to find um, a good, I'm not talking about just finding, but a good, solid, legitimately Krav Maga gym here. I will say in the Midwest, that's the only pretty much place I know. So, and George is the leading instructor there, is the owner, with your husband. So, do you want to tell the people here from Chicago a little bit about kind of who you are more?
Yeah. Who he is?
Who he is?
Who he is? Yes, he is really, and I'm not just saying this because he is my husband. That's far from it. Because when you meet him, you see that the training is coming from a place of love. Yes, there is a business to it, right? But when you see more love behind it in the teaching more than anything, it's coming from a place where he wants you to learn. And there's no sugarcoating. You know that with George. But he is indeed, he's very patient, he's very knowledgeable. And there isn't one person. There's difficult people that we can't work with sometimes. He could work with anybody.
Right.
He's just that person, you know.
So, for how many years are you practicing Krav Maga?
2006.
2006.
2006.
So today it's already, wow, like 15 years
Yeah,
almost.
15 years. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
absolutely.
So let's zoom in a little bit to to women. I would love, finally we have some valid person, a female here in the office. I would love to hear you. I see a lot of women, especially the older they get, or actually the younger they get. Many parents are kind of like afraid on their girls and everything. So do you think that it's more or less important to start practice Krav Maga, and also if it's more or less tough for women to learn Krav Maga self-defense?
It is important. I recommend it to women of all ages. I do. For kids,
What age?
for kids, oh my God, they could start off at 5, and you know, a lot of people think that kids are difficult to teach, but man, they're sponges. They're amazing.
I agree with you.
I mean, my kids, I do a leadership program. So not only do I teach them self-defense, we're working on the mind as well, right? We're building leaders. And I always tell my students, I said, guys, you are not followers, you're leaders. I'm not the only instructor in this class. You're my mini coaches.
Right.
So, when I have a yellow belt in class and a new white belt comes in, I'm like, okay, this is your role. Am I the only instructor in here? No, ma'am. Take the lead. What are they doing wrong? If I see that they're ready, I bring them in and I say, hey guys, you know what? What are you teaching today? I'm going to do 360 blocks. Wonderful. Teach everyone else. And I tell them, don't, because you know it, because they know it. Let's act like no, the 30 kids in here don't know
Nobody
what they're
knows
doing.
anything.
Exactly. Don't forget detail, because you know a detail, you think it's not necessary, add it in, because these people you've never met before. And you see the change. You see that my parents tell me all the time, they're different at home. They're different at school. They're loving to their siblings, which it's opposite sometimes when people think that the martial art will make them more aggressive than anything else. But I'm creating a whole bunch of peaceful little warriors. Is what I'm doing. Yes.
So Dan, I have a question. So
Yes.
here in Standstrong, as you know, we have level Aleph and level Bet. Every level it's few hours. We're trying to give them, the fundamental, the most important things, striking a little bit from the ground. We're
Mhm.
just starting to touch and introduce them this word and make them feel comfortable. Now, you guys are basically doing the same, but you take it to the next level because you have more time with the people. You have few years, you're building them up. But my question is, how fast can you recognize a change in a student? So this week was his first week ever. That's the first time he's coming to the class or to your gym. How fast can you see a difference in his two things? Because we discuss about it and we always discuss about it,
Yeah.
the mental and the physical. How fast do you see this change? Self-esteem, self-confidence.
In adults and in kids, with me personally,
Hmm.
if it's not if it's not at the end of their very first class, it's the next one. Because like I said, there's that initial fear, the unknown, right? The intimidation. Am I going to get hurt? Is someone going to hurt me? Am I going to look like a fool? And then once they realize, obviously, the environment, right? The environment, the other kids, the other adults that are more than willing to help one another. We just went over how the kids are my mini coaches, right? And how the adults are there, they help everyone out. They realize they can do it. They can do it. Okay, that wasn't bad. That was an hour. I did it. And all that anxiety, all that fear is just gone. And now they're just happy. And sorry, go ahead.
So do you think what you're saying, it's a lot of mentality.
It
They
is.
get this self-esteem boost up because they see, they have their other friends in the gym, they have other students helping them out, they
Yes.
helping others.
Yes.
And what about the physical skills?
Strong mind, strong body.
I
When
agree.
your mind is strong, it takes over everything. It takes over everything. And like I said, that goes into leadership too. When I have my kids come up and coach and demonstrate, right? They're they may mess up. They may giggle at themselves, or the other kids will giggle. I'm like, well, who cares? So you learn from this, right? But you learn here in a safe environment. Okay. So it's okay. It's okay to mess up. In life, you will mess up. Just walk it
Exactly.
off. Who cares?
You have to
So
build up from those failures.
absolutely, absolutely. And you should see them before I even say, guys, who's ready to, and I want to say teach, they raise their hand. They want to teach. They want the attention on them.
I
And
love it.
there is nothing like that in the world.
So in regards to this, I have a challenging question for you.
Okay.
If you need to mention, I will say, one or two or three values that you will say that Alpha Krav Maga compound or Krav Maga or in general self-defense, by learning self-defense, what are the main core values in your eyes? Even one or three, whatever you have in mind. So you talked about leadership. I love it. I really believe in leadership that builds the self-esteem, self-confidence, and it builds their character. Say always a confident kids is a successful adult.
Yep.
So leadership. What else can you share with us? Your kind of like pick up your brain.
Like like I said, building the strong mind,
Okay.
building the strong body, building that to be a leader and not a follower. So it's 360. It's mind, body, and soul. It really is. And it goes back to walking in peace, being that peaceful warrior, knowing that whatever life throws at you, it's okay. And it's exactly like I said before, when my kids come up and demonstrate and they trip on the word, and there's like a little chuckle, who cares? Brush it off. Again, in life, you will mess up, but how do you rise above it? How do you
Right.
rise above it? You know what you're capable of. You're a leader.
Exactly. I love it. So something that when you coaching
Mhm.
uh, along the year, you always face these people. It normally comes for, I will say, very young kids or slash older people.
Mhm.
And the thing is, they kind of like practicing in the class. They see maybe a little bit more fitted guys. They're doing amazing. The fitness and the techniques are much. It comes easier because they're fitted and they're in their prime and everything.
Mhm.
And I see, let's say older people even or younger kids, they kind of like they feel like they're missing something. Oh, I see the other guys are learning much faster. So do you I would like to hear, why do you think that even those people that more limited, like physical ability,
Mhm.
physical
Mhm.
abilities, I will say, um, why do you think they should practice Krav Maga if they are normally are not the most fitted in the room?
I'm gonna be honest with you about something. I think first and foremost, they need patience because everything that's challenging, you have to have time. You have to have patience. And the patience will bring that confidence. I hear it all the time. Oh, I can't do this right now. I have to get in shape before I do it.
Right.
We just be
It's always
patient.
comes, right? It's
Yes, be patient. It's going to come all in time. The thing is, everyone wants it now. Everyone wants it
right.
now. But you know what? Just like a house, right? Every single block you have to build one at a time. And it's the same thing with self defense. I've seen people in wheelchairs training.
And by the way, something that important that you said,
Yes.
it's brick by brick, you
Yeah,
building the
absolutely.
building. Some people, it takes them longer time to put this brick in the right place. Some people faster,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean that you cannot achieve what you're trying to
I
achieve.
agree. All in its time, to each his own,
Exactly.
all in their own time. All in their own time. Absolutely. I strongly believe that.
Exactly. I love it. So now probably the most I will say interesting question
Mm-hmm.
that I'm sure you're facing, especially as a gym owner.
Okay.
You see the change in kids when you have them. You see the change, the leadership, like you said, the body and the mind and the soul and everything. 1,000,000% I agree with you. The main problem which we are in Standstrong trying to solve, and I'm sure, I mean, I know that everybody are actually trying to do that. What about parents that afraid from bringing their kids
Mm-hmm.
to the gym because they afraid that they will come violent? What do you have to say to these parents? Maybe they watch us now and they
Yeah.
kind of like in a conflict.
Yeah.
Should I send my kid to try it or not? I don't want him to get hurt. I don't want him to start to using his hands against his friends.
It's exact opposite.
Please elaborate.
It's the exact opposite. So they're taking all that energy as a kid that they have and they're putting it into something intense, right? And they're my kids, when I say my kids, I'm talking about my students. My kids,
And they are your kids.
they are my kids. I'm so blessed to have so many kids. The thing is, my kids, I always teach them. I teach them class. I always say, guys, you know what? Whatever you learn in here, remember, you're representing class. So when you leave here, you keep that class. I tell my kids all the time, don't bully and don't be bullied. And so many, in fact, in all the years that I've been teaching kids, I have never had a parent tell me that that's ever happened, ever. I've had kids excited to tell me, Miss Diana, you know, a friend of mine was fighting and I broke it up. I said, hey man, it's not worth it. And it goes back to those cute little peaceful warriors that I'm talking about because I made them realize what they're capable of. And I tell them, I said, guys, what's worth it? So someone swears at you, someone calls you a name. You know it's not true. You know what they're saying about you is not true. Does that physically break your arm when they call you a name? No, ma'am. Okay. Well, now they put their hands on you. Now what? We defend ourselves, ma'am. Okay, no problem. There you go. Make an example out of that kid. That's it.
Right. So you do think that in general, learning Krav Maga, they will get more, like you say, on the contrary, they will get more peaceful people than.
Absolutely. It's it's like it feeds every craving.
Right.
It feeds every single. It feeds craving that you didn't even know you were craving. Kid doesn't know really what low confidence is. They really don't. They just know that sometimes when there's other kids on the playground, they'd rather be by themselves. They don't really don't know why. But then all of a sudden they're training. And like I said, their hand goes up as quick as possible just to teach everyone else what they know.
Nice. My question is, from your experience, because you are teaching, 15 years, you have your own school, you have literally every hour in the day almost, like you have classes, many in the time in the same times, like two different spaces you have in the gym, huge gym, amazing facility. So how often do you see, because we cannot see it now because we run the webinars, but I want people to understand, how often do you see kids slash every student that you have get injured in your classes? From 1 to 10, the 10 is like the safest and 0 is like getting injured every single class.
Very, very rare. First of all, when we're
Okay.
teaching the adults, the instructor always asks, does anyone have any injuries? And we work around that. And the same thing for the kids. The same exact thing for the kids. And there is a way of working around an injury. There is a way.
If you know that your left leg is
Exactly.
you have injury, so you don't use
Absolutely.
it, you may be asking your partner,
Yeah.
because it's related to this question that I ask you, that parents are afraid to send their kids maybe to be violent, which we understand, especially with our experience, we understand it's exactly the opposite the way it works.
Right.
But also I know many of them, as a good parent, you're afraid, you don't want your kid get hurt, so is it something that you see almost? I mean, from my experience, is like I don't even see injuries, honestly.
Here's the thing. It's controlled. Like I know as a instructor, I control, so if my kids are sparring, for example, 20% work on technique, 20%.
The timing,
Because
the right
exactly,
movement.
exactly. And then if you've ever seen like Georgia's sparring class also, hey guys, 20%, 30%, it's always controlled for that reason, right? Because again, we know our students, we know what they're capable of, right? So work on technique.
And by the way, I remember one of the classes I watched George. There was one guy that a little bit more spazzy and he's more physical, and he was going a little bit too rough. So as an instructor, you will agree with me. You saw it. You also see it sometimes. You kind of like, John, relax a little bit. Your partner is a beginner. Take your
Exactly.
time. Let him learn. Let him build the confidence. So it's not
Right.
really, even if you have those kind of type of people, you still, there is a way to control it and lower it down so
Absolutely.
nobody will get injured or even feel unsafe or too frightened, because we're
Absolutely.
trying to build a self-esteem,
Exactly.
not trying to scare them out.
I agree with you. We're here to build people, not break people. There's a
Right.
big difference. And a lot of times when we do have someone new, we do partner them up with someone, just to get a little bit more comfortable.
Right.
And again, with those people that are just a little bit more intense, we know how to partner them up. But again, like I said, the instructor controls the room. Because if there's an instructor that has no control over the room, I guarantee you, you're going to see so many injuries. No one is going to want to do Krav, right?
Right.
So it takes that one strong leader to say, okay, relax a little bit, take it down.
I think it's important for people that don't have experience to understand that, like the lawyer know how what questions to ask his clients, we know how to control our classes
Yeah,
so nobody will get hurt,
exactly,
not to do mistakes. Everybody will feel that they are in right hands, in the right environment.
exactly,
And this is what we're doing for a living. So people need to understand that, because they kind of like, oh, this is physical. It's okay that it's physical, but it
exactly,
still can be controlled.
exactly,
You also can, if you're starting to run, you're not going to do a marathon the first run you ever run in
exactly,
your life.
exactly.
You're starting with 1 mile, you build it up, you're improving the time. Okay, so the same thing applies
Exactly.
to the way we're treating.
It's that building block I was talking about
Exactly,
earlier.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much, I love everything we discuss. It's very educational. Like you said, we're always a students. I love to watch you guys teaching every time I'm there. Guys, they really have an amazing facility. If you're in
Thank you.
Chicago, I highly recommend to check it out.
Thank you.
um Away from Krav Maga for 1 second,
Yeah.
what will be your tips to help, I will say young, but not necessarily young women, to empower themselves. You are a leader. I mean, you're very humble.
Yeah.
But guys, I saw her teaching. I saw her sparring. This is not. She's
Thank you.
amazing, really.
Thank you.
So, what are your tips for women to kind of like empower themselves? Because women need it. They need it. Everybody need it.
No,
But
you're right. No, I agree with you. Don't put yourself in a box. Don't limit yourself. You see, I did fashion designing, right? I did makeup, I did acting, I got craft certified. Um, I want to open up an animal shelter one day, God willing, right?
amazing.
Don't limit yourself because you could do anything and everything that you want to do. My dad, God rest his soul, he always used to say to me, daughter, only a coward doesn't try. And I'm not a coward, Leor. And I know that more women could do it.
I agree, and they should.
I agree.
They should.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I can't imagine if I didn't do Krav, I wouldn't have met, I wouldn't have had the experiences that I've experienced. I wouldn't have traveled and trained with different people. I got a wonderful husband. You know him very well.
I love him.
I
Not
have
just know him.
I
He's
have
amazing character.
yeah, I have my best friend Bernie, you know her. She
Hmm.
does jujitsu. And this experience, if I didn't try, if I when I went with my sister, she was my partner when we tried Krav, right? And she quit after a while. And what if I was that person? What if I was that intimidated person where, oh, I need my sister, or I'm too afraid to do
Yeah.
it by myself. But you know what? I wasn't. I did it. I faced it. I faced my fears. I never gave up. I kept on going, even though there's some humbling experiences, right? There's always someone who's better than you. Learn from that person. Don't run away from that person. I always love to look for the person who knows more, who who could teach me.
Right.
And the bulk of the time is quite the opposite for other people because they don't want to be paired up with someone who knows more. They're intimidated, they're afraid. And it's like, no, but this is the person who could teach you the right from wrong. This is the person who can help you be better. And that's my tip. Never give up. And again, don't put yourself in a box. There's so many things that you could do. Again, had I stopped at just the fashion designing degree, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have met the kids that I've
Right.
met today. You know, my life wouldn't be fulfilled like it is.
Okay, we have a question from one of our audience, please.
Yeah, linking to what you just said there, there's a question online here that says, I have a female friend who is resistant to even start Krav Maga. She says if she was ever to be attacked on the street, she knows she would just panic and freeze and submit. It makes me so sad. How do we encourage someone like that to take that first step to try a class and then hopefully change their mindset? So linking to what you just said, how do you even just that first step to get into it? How do you encourage people?
Amazing question. I would love to hear your answer.
Mm-hmm. You know, for a person who's really, really timid, you could always do a one-on-one, right? Get to know the person, build that trust, build that trust. When women see my size, and when I do a lot of women's seminar, obviously I demonstrate on someone big because that's the reality of it.
Right.
Isn't that
We
right?
are assuming that the other person might be bigger and stronger.
Exactly. So when they see that I'm capable of doing it, they know they can. And again, it's okay to be afraid. Everyone is afraid. Everyone is, there's a fear of the unknown. But you can't give up. You can't let that fear consume you. Let it fuel you instead. Let that fear give you gas for you to do the best thing for yourself. Because like I said, this journey for me has been everything. I never want it to end. I really, really don't. And it's just it's that first step. So whether she wants to do like a one-on-one with the instructor, go ahead and do that. Build that trust.
I think also it's something that Diana mentioned before. There are two aspects, if I need to say, for self-defense, I will call it.
Mhm.
There is the mentally and the physically.
Absolutely.
Even if, for per the question we had from the audience, even if, it takes time to build those skills, physical skills, right away, like you say, in the end of the first class, something in their mentality will change. So instead of going into panic, you will look what tools you have in your toolbox to use in this situation. So instead of like panic and shake, you will open up and look around. Maybe you can call for help. Maybe that's, maybe it's the time to change your position.
Mhm.
Look how you can keep the distance. This is stuff that you learn when
Yeah.
you practice. So it's one thing leads to another.
Absolutely. And to add to that, I always, when I ask my students, what are combatives? They're your God-given weapons. What are your God-given weapons? Your fist. What do you do with your fist? Punch. Wonderful. Your legs. What do you do? What can you do with your legs? I could kick. I could knee. I could elbow. I could headbutt. So a lot of the times, when I'm teaching or when I'm doing a seminar and I'm teaching, let's say, for example, choke from the front, and I'll demonstrate it. Okay, but what if the guy did this, this, and this? What if that didn't work and the guy did? Okay, well, let's review that. Okay, so the attacker does whatever they asked. We do it. Okay, but what if as you're doing that, he does this? You fall back on your God-given weapons. Don't give up.
Right.
Don't give up. Live to tell. Live to tell your story. Okay. And I have so many women that they doubt, which again is why I always bring someone bigger than me so they see they're capable of doing it. And at the end of it,
Also, one thing to add to that.
yeah,
It's also doesn't matter how big he is. For instance,
No.
if you poke me or if you kicking towards my sensitive area, it doesn't matter if I'm 6'2" and 250 pounds. It's just gonna hurt me. I cannot look at my eyes if you poked me
Right.
in my eyes.
Absolutely.
So again, there are tools that obviously, we are trying not to escalate too much in Standstrong just because, there's what we can do in a limited time. And also, I think that's your role in the game. when you have level 4, level 5 Krav Maga, you start to show them a little bit more, I will say, aggressive moves, because
Yes.
like you said, it's growing and learning with the time more and more.
Mhm.
But even then, even if the front choke that you said, you
Mhm.
poke them,
Mhm.
even by mistake, your finger goes to your fingernail, goes to his eyes.
Right.
This guy is going to the hospital right there.
Right.
So it
Absolutely.
doesn't matter his size. That's it.
Absolutely.
He's done. His day is ruined.
I agree with you. And the other thing is, you talked about awareness. I get, I teach the women that yes, be aware of your surroundings. I also tell them be obvious that you're aware of your surroundings.
Sure.
Well, what do you mean by that? Well, it's very simple. If you know that someone is walking behind you, make it obvious that you know that they're behind you. No one who attacks you wants to be identified, right? And
And you ruin his element of surprise.
that's exactly right. Make it obvious that you're aware of your surroundings.
Right.
Then you know what? It makes sense to them.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Amazing.
I'm telling you, start this journey. Start this journey because you are never gonna wanna have this journey end.
I agree with you, 1,000,000%. Okay, Diana, thank you
Yes,
so much
thank
for
you
your
so much for
time,
having
for
me.
sharing
Thank you.
us. I'm sure so many,
Thank you for having me.
ladies out there feel more ninjas.
Thank you.
That's the goal, obviously, other people. So I really appreciate your
Thank you.
time. Guys, she volunteered her time to join us. She's very busy, trust me, especially now when their schools are open. And she is here because she wanted, voluntarily to give more people a little bit of what she learned during the her journey. So thank you very much for that. Guys, if you have any more questions for her, please feel free. You can email us, you can send us a message via Instagram or Facebook. You highly recommend you can even reach out directly to Diana if you want maybe these private classes or whatever you feel free. um, stand strong,
Amen.
and hope to see you again. So
Awesome.
thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
All
everyone. Thank
right,
you.
bye bye, guys.